So I was looking at this whole new TBR plan I have, and I said, how about I dip into some things that some patrons have recommended? Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back for another monthly TBR, this time for July of 2024. And guys, if you haven't kind of caught on lately, I'm kind of taking a sabbatical from the big 900-page books. I'm trying to embrace this mood reading thing that you guys are always kind of pushing on me, and it's been very, very cool. I've started doing this new dedicated mix where I'll do one horror, one sci-fi, one fantasy, one manga, and one kind of miscellaneous, be it historical fiction, crime, thriller, something like that, something a little out of my comfort zone each month. And I feel like it's really helped me quite a bit to kind of keep things fresh and not kind of hit my any reading slumps or anything like that. So it's been a lot of fun. I think I'm going to keep doing that. But as I want to make this month kind of a dedication to some of my longtime patrons. There's some that have been with me for years now. And I can't mention all of them because there's just way too many. Just know that I love all of you. But there are some where it's gotten some recommendations, and I want to make sure I give them a shout out and make you guys realize I appreciate your input and your loyalty. It's been amazing that you guys have been with me this long. It's awesome. I consider us friends at this point. And I want to make sure I give you guys a little bit of love here. So this is the order that I plan to read them in. I like to mention up front, guys, that some of these are sequels. If you think that might be spoilery, I proofread everything here for the synopsis before I read it to you and make sure I remove names or remove anything out of context. I don't think they're going to mean anything to you, but if you fear being spoiled, I do have timestamps down below where you can skip to the next book. So let's start off with the miscellaneous as much. With this going to be historical fiction, and I am going to be dedicating this one to Scott, the bald booktuber. He's been with me, gosh, I think since 2021 or so. He is recommending I continue with the Matthew Corbett series, and that, of course, is Queen of Bedlam. It's going to be by Mr. Robert McCammon. Now, I've had great experiences with Robert McCammon so far. I really have. But I was still kind of apprehensive about starting the Matthew Corbett series because I was like, I don't want to get into another 9-book series. And these books are beefy. They are monstrous books. You know, Robert McCammon, he doesn't say anything quickly, to be honest. But I've really, really enjoyed most of what I've read by him. And I read Speaks the Nightbird last, I think October, November. But I loved it. I loved it so much. And so I was excited to return to this world and see what is up with Matthew Corbett. And a lot of people have said Queen of Bedlam is their favorite in the series. So that's very, very exciting here because I thought Speaks Nightbird was fantastic. It was my book of the month, whatever month it was that I read it. And I would say that it is kind of the preseason favorite right now. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you what this one is about. But like I said, if you haven't read Speaks Nightbird, that's okay. I feel like these are kind of going to be standalone-ish kind of adventures for now. The unsolved murder of a respected doctor has sent ripples of fear throughout a city teeming with life and noise and commerce. Who snuffed out the good man's life with a slash of a blade on a midnight street? The local printmaster has labeled the fiend the Masker, adding fuel to a volatile mystery. And when the Masker claims a new victim, hard-working young law clerk Matthew Corbett is lured into a maze of forensic clues and heart-pounding investigation that will both test his natural penchant for detection and inflame his hunger for justice. In the strangest twist of all, the key to unmasking the Masker may await in an asylum where the Queen of Bedlam reigns, and only a man of Matthew's reason and empathy can unlock her secrets. From the seaport to Wall Street, from society mansions to gutters glimmering with blood spilled by a deviant, Matthew's quest will tauntingly reveal the answers he seeks and the chilling truths he cannot escape. Now, I don't have these on physical, guys, because I can't show it to you. I have these on digital. I did get a really good price on them. But the thing with this is, it's hard to find matching covers for this series and matching just the size and of the spines and all that stuff. So I haven't actually got these on physical. But here's the thing: is I feel like I'm really going to dig this series if it's anything like Speaks the Nightbird, and I suspect if it's going into book 8 or 9 now, I think it is going to retain that audience that it has had so far. So I'm excited to return to this. Very much historical fiction. The first book was very much like kind of his take on the Salem witch trials, where he kind of took a step back and looked at it. And I think what I like about Robert McCammon is you never know. It kind of feels like he has that one foot in. It could be supernatural, or it could just be, hey, people just didn't understand things back in that time period. So we're dealing with the 1700s here. Obviously, there are going to be some things that are a little different than today. But I love that when I'm dealing with historical fiction and things that are, in the States, stuff I know a lot about. I don't know. This just sounds kind of almost like a Jack the Ripper kind of story. And that sounds really, really fun. Next up, guys, I do have the physical for this one. This one is going to be dedicated to both Brent and Gunnar, because Brent is the first one that I had recommend Saga of the Forgotten Warrior to me, but Gunner's enthusiasm lately has really made me be like, okay, I want to stop, doing one of these every 4 or 5 months. I want to kind of get this series rolling, because with Gunner, it was like I recommended him Red Rising, and it became like one of his favorite series ever, to like where he would finish it and he would start reading it again. And so he's saying, he gets a lot of similar vibes between Red Rising and this. And I'm 2 books in, I gotta agree, so I'm gonna be picking up Destroyer of Worlds. It's book number 3 in Saga of the Forgotten Warrior. I don't know if you guys can even see that. Like I said, these holographic covers. Really awesome, but they're hard to show on camera. Amazing artwork on this. But I think it's 2 for 2 so far. I did like Son of the Black Sword a little better than, what was it, House of Assassins? Was that book 2? I liked it a little better, but I felt like House of Assassins was a better character building book for characters not named ℚ𝕦𝕣𝕠𝕠𝕜. So getting to know more of those characters, seeing that, okay, Larry Correa, it does do a pretty good job on creating a supporting cast. So that first one, I felt like it was very much, Ashok and friends. That's kind of how it felt in the first book. Where the second one, I felt like he got the development for all those other characters and kind of got a little bit more of the world building. And now we're about really to get into the meat of the story, and I'm very excited here. So, Destroyer of Worlds, guys, what is this one about? Well, the great extermination has begun. In the capital, the Grand Inquisitor hatches a plot to kill every member of the untouchable caste in all of Locke, down to the last man, woman, and child. As a member of the Order of Inquisition, he has no official say in the creation of law, but he has powerful allies willing to do his bidding. Through them, he has convinced the judges that the genocide will be swift, complete, and without complication. But nothing is further from the truth. The Lord Protector has sworn to uphold the law. Once he and the traitor Ashok Vidal had been like brothers. Now he hunts Vidal and the Sons of the Black Sword, heretics and rebels who seek to live outside the rule of law. All he must do is find and kill his best friend, and order will be restored to Locke. Meanwhile, the rebels seek the secret kingdom spoken of by the prophet Thera, a paradise where water is pure and food plentiful, where there are no castes and the people rule themselves. Ashok is not sure he believes in such a paradise, but he will not merely wait meekly, hoping that fleeing will spare the rebellion from the clutches of the great extermination. No, if it's a war the capital wants, Vidal, who has faced down gods and demons, will be all too willing to give it to them. And guys, I'm super excited to continue with this, because this might be the best action-written fantasy series I've ever read. I feel like he really has found a way to make it feel almost like a thriller. And when you can do that with fantasy, that's really amazing. And he doesn't sacrifice world building for it. That's what I think is incredible. So yeah, Larry Correa, he's a little bit of a wizard in this regard. And let's see if he can keep up that hot streak here for book number 3. I'm very excited to continue, because I've heard it only gets better and better. And if that's the case, man, this is just going to be a fun time, I think. Next up, guys, how about the horror offering this month? So we've done a miscellaneous, we've done a fantasy book. How about the horror offering this month? Well, this one is dedicated to Jay, aka this is Jay's World. She has been sending me books in this series for the last, I'd say about 2 years now. She's been a patron about just as long, and she knows how much I do love some horror, but I've been struggling a little bit with finding some horror, modern horror, that's really clicked with me. And she really just has gone on a hill and just fought to the death for John Dies at the End, this whole series. Now, this is by David Wong / Jason Pargin. I think he has like a pen name. I think his real name is Jason Pargin. I don't know. It might be David Wong. I didn't do my research on that. But this one here, I've heard so many weird things about it, and I think I've heard equal amounts from the book as well as the cult movie that people seem to really care for. I think what I had it described to me as was bad shit Lovecraft with a little bit of Shaun of the Dead. And I was like, well, that sounds terrific to me. But looking at the synopsis for this book, which I'm going to read to you in a second, kind of hard for me to really understand what's going on here. But it does sound like it might be just a little bit of, I don't know, some Evil Dead horror comedy in there. If that's the case, like I said, Shaun of the Dead, really, I laughed at that movie as much as, I got punched in the feels for it. I think that was really just a perfect balance of the two kind of genres. It was probably the best I'd seen since Sam Raimi and the Evil Dead. So if this is anything like that, add a little bit of Lovecraft into it, well, that sounds very exciting. But John Dies at the End. Now, what is this about? So stop. You should not have opened this book with your bare hands. No, don't put it down. It's too late. They're watching you. My name is David, and my best friend is John. Those names are fake, and you might want to change yours. You may not want to know the things you'll read on these pages about the sauce, about Korok, about the invasion and the future. But it's too late. You touched the book. You're in the game now. You're under the eye. And the only defense is knowledge. You need to read this book to the end, even the part with the bratwurst. Why? Well, you'll just have to trust me. The important thing is this. The sauce is a drug, and it gives its users a window into another dimension. John and I never had a chance to say no, but you still do. Unfortunately for us, if you make the right choice, we'll have a much harder time explaining how to fight off otherworldly invasion currently threatening to enslave humanity. I'm sorry to have involved you in this, I really am, but as you read these terrible events on the very dark epoch the world is about to enter as a result, it is crucial that you keep one thing in mind. None of this was my fault. So, almost like a little bit of Monty Python there with an introduction like that. Again, a synopsis doesn't really tell you what this book's about. That isn't necessarily a big strike to me. I think this actually sounds quite interesting. So, again, you had me at Lovecraft meets Shaun of the Dead. That sounds like a lot of fun. I know that blurbs aren't always accurate, but that's coming from people who have actually read the book, so I'm actually quite interested in how it does turn out. But I'm excited to get to this one. Jay did send me this book. She sent me 3 books in this series now, so I figured it was time to stop delaying and get this one on the schedule. And I'm glad I didn't have to wait until spooky season, but I'm very excited to do it because I really just got to know, are you really spoiling what happens in the title of your book? That's ballsy. That's ballsy. But we'll find out if it's a play on words or if it is something that is very true and still does kind of reel me in. How about the sci-fi offering this month? Now, I had actually had The Forever War by Joe Haldeman here, but I actually was a guest on this person's channel recently, and he kind of made a recommendation to me, and I said, you know what? I've been putting off doing Alistair Reynolds for you for years. You give me a standalone sci-fi book that's under 500 pages, I will read. I'm talking, of course, about Jordan over at iWizard. He has been with me, I think since lockdown is how long ago Jordan has been a patron of mine. So I apologize it's taken me this long to get to something that you recommended, but he did recommend The Moon is a Harsh Mistress by Robert A. Heinlein. Now, I've read Starship Troopers. I love it. I love the movie. I love the book. They're very different entities, but they are both very, very good. I've always wanted to read Stranger to Strange Land. Honestly, I had never even heard of The Moon is a Harsh Mistress until he recommended it. Now, some people might be saying, like, seriously? Guys, this is a fantasy channel mostly. I haven't read a ton of classic science fiction out there. I mean, I just read Childhood's End a few years ago, right? I still haven't read 2001. I still haven't read Asimov. So, I mean, I'm still very much at the beginning stages of classic sci-fi here. So I'm glad that he did make this recommendation, because now that I've read the synopsis, it sounds pretty damn cool. Almost something like Saga, the comic Saga by Matthew K. Vaughan. That's what it almost kind of sounds like here, and it sounds very exciting. But what is that synopsis, you ask? Well, it is the year 2075, and the moon, aka Luna, is used as a penal colony by Earth's government with 3 million inhabitants called loonies. Living in underground cities, the loonies are discharged criminals, political exiles, and their freeborn descendants. Men outnumber women 2 to 1. So polyandry and polygamy are quite the normal. There, a computer technician, a vigorous young female agitator, and an elderly academic join Mike, the supercomputer whose sentience is known only to the revolt's inner circle, who for reasons of his own is committed to the revolution's ultimate success. This is the rebellion against the masters on Earth. So it sounds very cool. I mean, I think of tons of sci-fi movies I've seen that have similar plots, and tons of comics. Like I said, I did mention Saga there. That sounds very cool. So I don't actually own this one yet. I've got to get this one before I do get to it. But again, I want to thank Jordan for not only being a loyal supporter of the channel for so long and having me as a guest on his channel, which is just like the highest compliment. I'm glad I could get this recommendation that he gave me on the TBR immediately, because it's very exciting, and I want to see if he actually does follow through and read Watchmen. That's what I recommended to him. It should be a fun conversation. Maybe we can get together and talk about this after it is over. And guys, that leaves only the manga that I do plan to read this month. Now, I think if you've been kind of following the trends lately, you guys know that I am working on Skypiea right now. So next month, what arc would be? That Saga would be next. That would be Water 7, a very, very famous arc, I think, in One Piece. Before I even started, I had heard of Skypiea and both that and Water 7. So with Water 7, look, I'm actually reading Skypiea right now, so I'm not going to lie. Putting together the synopsis actually scared me a little bit, but I feel like people that love One Piece, they are so respectful of the readers that they don't want to ruin it for you. So there are very, very vague synopsis out there for each one of these sagas and each one of these arcs for you to kind of run through. This is going to be volumes number 32 through 46. So who do I dedicate this to? Which patron? Well, I would have to say it's the mystery viewer / viewers that sent me all of these beautiful One Piece box sets. You guys were just way too kind on that. You sent me 4 of these monsters. The least I can do is read it, right? And I have actually enjoyed it. The thing was, like, I was always kind of apprehensive about reading One Piece, but I've enjoyed it immensely. I've liked some more than others, but I've never been miserable while reading it. And now that I'm about halfway through Skypiea right now, I can tell you, I'm still having a great time with this. And I love what One Piece is. It's so quirky, it's so goofy, it's so over the top and ridiculous. And you're laughing at it, just how silly it is, and then it'll have something completely emotional that will just rip your heart out. And it's just amazing the way that the creator does this. He's just Oda Sensei. He's so good. He's so good, especially at backstory. And so I don't know how much backstories we're going to get with this, but I feel like every time a new character pops up, we get a backstory, and he is successful 100% of the time. So Water 7 Saga, what is it about? Well, the crew returns to the Blue Sea only to encounter Foxy the Silver Fox, a pirate who challenges them to a fight. A series of games where the winner takes crewmates from the losing crew. However, the Straw Hats encounter an enemy whom they have no hope of beating. At the thrilling metropolis of Water 7, they are framed for the attempted assassination of Water 7's mayor. While they try to find the real culprit, they soon learn that they may have been caught head over heels by the government assassination group CP9. The Straw Hats' world is turned upside down as familiar faces return with unexpected revelations for the continuation of their journey. In the new world, Shanks makes his move to protect his subordinate from a familiar face with a horrific new power. So again, very vague, but you know what? That's great because I'm not even there yet. But I'm enjoying putting myself on a schedule with One Piece because I did feel like I took too long of a break there. I waited for Philip to catch up with me, and now Philip's, I think he's done with Water 7, and I'm still in Skypiea. So Philip's just he's a lightning fast reader, and me trying to mix this in. I do think having these shorter months where I'm reading just, I just mentioned like the 4 kind of main horror, of fantasy, of sci-fi, and a miscellaneous. Keeping myself to 4 books instead of scheduling myself for like 6 has made it more easy to schedule in reading more manga. But am I going to do One Piece like that until the end? I can't say that I won't take breaks. There are other things I want to read. I haven't finished Vinland Saga. I still want to read. Philip can't stop recommending Vagabond to me. I've always wanted to read 20th Century Boys because I hear that the creator of that is very much a Stephen King fan, and he basically wrote 20th Century Boys as like his version of It, and that sounds amazing. So there are other things I want to try, but I do think I'm going to be getting a big chunk of One Piece out this year, and I do have some plans on the schedule for how far I'm going to go, at least for now. So I appreciate all my patrons, and I want you to know that I do listen, and I greatly appreciate all of your feedback as well as your support. Any recommendations you make to me, guys, that's going to come to the front of the line, and that's why I want to dedicate this episode to some of those patrons that have been with me the longest. But this won't be the last episode like this because I know there are lots of patron voices out there that I want to say not only thank you to, but show you I respect your opinion, and I definitely want to read some things that I know you guys are recommending that are wonderful. They're going to be something that I really do appreciate. So I think that August might have some of those same kinds of surprises in there. So guys, stay tuned for that one. But as for July, guys, what are you planning to read? Why don't you drop in the comments and let me know. Let me know what you think about any of these. No spoilers, please, because clearly I haven't read any of them. But I'd love to know your feedback on any of these 5 that I mentioned here, and if you plan to join me for any of them, because I would love to have you. Jump on the Discord, jump on Twitter, jump on socials, everywhere, and talk to me. All that stuff is in the description below if you want to find me on those platforms. And please join the Discord. I'd love to have you. If you want to become a patron, that's awesome. Honestly, it isn't necessary. You want to become a patron, man, I would love to get to know you a little bit better. It would be a blast. So drop in the comments, guys. Let me know what you're up to in July, and I will talk to you there.